Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Melissa, and if you're here, it's because you like some horror history and you might also, fancy some true crime once in a while. Or maybe the other way around. You like true crime and you might fancy some history once in a while. If this is something that interests you, please subscribe down below if you haven't done so already, because I know like 82% of you aren't. Like this video so I know that you enjoyed this type of videos and I can make more. Also share this video, it's just a way to help me out. I would greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate every single one of you who has subscribed already. Also follow me on Instagram. I just made a Twitter. I'm not really sure how Twitter works, but I'll have that linked down below as well. I'll have a link down to, the products that I have or that I'm using on my face down below. Also, if you want to have some smooth lips like mine, I make this myself along with some soap and I sell it. And if you want that, it's like literally the only lip balm I use. Get yours down below. Okay, so let's get this started. So do you believe in the afterlife? Because I do. I am a definite believer that there is life after life. In this story, a ghost solves her own murder. So it starts with Teresita Basa. She was born in the Philippines in 1929, and in the 1960s she moved into the United States, into Chicago. If you're from Chicago, like this video, I'm kind of from like around Chicago. I live close to it. She moved here to study music. In the meantime, however, she worked as a respiratory therapist in Edgewater Hospital. I'm already losing my voice. I don't know why. As soon as I start recording, my voice just like doesn't want to work. She was known as a very reliable worker and a very quiet woman. She was actually going back to school to get her doctorate in music. And she actually also taught piano lessons from her apartment. So by all accounts, Teresita, and I'm gonna say Teresita because it sounds weird if I say it in English. Teresita, she was really like the last person you would imagine to be the victim of like somebody's victim, she was just a very kind person, so you wouldn't really expect anybody to want to do anything to her. On the night of February 21st, 1977, at 9 p.m., some neighbors of Teresita called the fire department because they noticed that there was smoke coming from somewhere inside the building. But they don't know exactly where it was coming from until the fire department got there and they were able to trace it back to Teresita's apartment. And when they went in there, they were, they started working on putting the fire out. And then they discovered where the fire was coming from. It was a mattress that was set on fire, and under that mattress was the naked body of Teresita Basa. So now this went from just like a fire being put out to a full-on homicide investigation. So when they were able to recover her body, they found that she was, like I said, nude. She had no clothes on, and she had a butcher knife stabbed through her chest. And this kind of told the investigators that the fire had been set just to kind of like get rid of any evidence that might be on her body or anywhere around her, really. And there had been also evidence that she might have been the victim of a sexual attack. So when they took her body in to the coroners, they actually found that she had not been a victim of sexual abuse, and they couldn't really find a motive for murdering her in such a way. The only thing that they could find was a note that was left on her, like inside her apartment, and the note said, "Get theater tickets for AS." So now the question was, who is this AS person? For months they couldn't figure anything out about this case, and it wasn't until 5 or 6 months later, a former co-worker of Teresita, her name was, they called her Remy, short for I think Remedios Chua, and she was also from the Philippines, and she worked with Teresita at the hospital. And she came to the police. Her and her husband Joe, they contacted a detective by the name of Joe Tuchula, and they came and they told him that they had information about her murder, about Teresita's murder. Remy, she told the detective that shortly after Teresita had been murdered, that the ghost of Teresita had appeared and to her, begging her to go to the police and tell them what had happened to her. Okay, so now according to Joe, Remy's husband, one night, Remy, or day, I think it was like in the middle of the day, Remy took a nap, and in her sleep, she started, all of a sudden, began speaking in like a different voice. And the voice would say that her name was Teresita. She told Joe that her killer was a man by the name of Alan Showery. The voice told Joe that the man, Alan, was an orderly at the hospital that she worked at. And she was begging Joe to like go to the police and tell them this. But he was really hesitant at first. I don't think he like really believed. Kind of like he didn't really believe what was happening, you know. But when Remy woke back up from her nap, she had no recollection of, you know, her saying anything really in her sleep. So now they kind of like brushed it off for a little bit until I think maybe a few days later, when Remy was asleep again. So as you can guess, my camera died, but we're back. Okay, so Joe kind of ignored, you know, this the first time, and then it happened again a few days later, and the spirit that was speaking through Remy, claiming to be Teresita, was asking him like, why didn't you go to the cops? And he was telling her like, we don't have any evidence, like I can't just, you know, go into the police saying that a ghost told me, or that my wife in her sleep told me. She told him that when Alan stole or murdered her, he stole some of her jewelry that he later gifted to his girlfriend. So now with this, I think they saw it as kind of like, all right, that's really specific. So now they did contact the Detective Joe. Joe contacted Joe, and they told them, you know, what everything that had happened, as crazy as it sounded. Okay, so I'm going for a look. I know these lashes are kind of crazy. I'm going for a look. Hopefully it will come out pretty. So when they told the detective what had happened, he was also like really hesitant to believe them, but he, you know, decided to follow up on the information about the jewelry. So Joe, the detective, I can't say his last name, so I'm just gonna say Joe. Joe number 2 called Alan in, and he had him for an interrogation. He did confirm that he was in her apartment that day to, I think, fix something with her TV. He didn't have the tools that he needed to fix the TV, so he just like left and went home. But Detective Joe didn't believe this, and contacted Alan's girlfriend and asked her if he had gifted her some jewelry, and she confirmed that he did. So Joe asked her, Alan's girlfriend, to bring the jewelry in to see if they could look at it, and she agreed, and they had Teresita's friends, or Remy, look at the jewelry and to see if she could confirm that it was Teresita's, and if you can guess, it was. Because of this, Alan confessed to murdering Teresita. And he said that when he went into her apartment to fix her TV, that he didn't have the tools to fix it, so he was gonna go home and get tools, but his plan was to return and rob Teresita instead. And he said that when he like went back to her apartment and he knocked on the door and she let him back in, when she was closing the door, she like turned around to close the door. And that's when he like went around her and he like grabbed her from behind and attacked her. And then he took her clothes off to make it seem like it was a sexual attack. And I just a robbery. And then he laid her naked with the knife plunged into her chest. And then he put the mattress on top of her and set it on fire. But even though he did confess to this murder, he pleaded not guilty to murder. So they did have a trial. They had what they call a hung jury. So they had a mistrial the first time around. But while Alan was waiting in prison for his retrial, he for some reason had like a change of heart or whatever. He decided to plead guilty this time, and he was then sentenced to 14 years in prison, plus a consecutive 4 years for the arson. And he got like the lowest sentence they could during this time because they didn't really have any real evidence against him besides, his word. But in 1983, he was released on parole, and he's been out since then. He's been a free man. So now, I tried looking up where he is now, and there's no records of him since 2004, I believe. But right now he would be around 70 years old? Yeah, he'd be around 70 years old right now. But after prison, he moved in with this mysterious lady, supposedly in Chicago. And I don't know, he could still be there possibly, but there's really no information of his whereabouts anymore. So anyway, that is the story of the ghost of Teresita Basa, who solved her own murder. Is that crazy or what? Oh, hello. This is Fashion Nova Kida. This is like a really cheap wig that I just cut. This wig's not staying. But anyway, if you enjoyed this short little, yes, I'm wearing a shirt. The short little spooky murder mystery true crime / cosplay, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. This was a lot of fun. I want to do more cosplays like this. Let me know what you think of this look down below. The bangs for bangs, I guess. So yeah, anyway, subscribe down below if you haven't done so. Like this video for more. Share it too. It would help a lot. Link to everything that's on my face is gonna be down below in the comments. Not in the comments, in the description. Follow me on Instagram. And yeah, I like this a lot actually. So yeah, anyway, we'll see you guys next time.